Was that you choosing weddings? Was that luck, or were you strategic about that?
Uh, at first, it was kind of just luck, right? It was my friend. He was a photographer, Jufi. I mentioned him. He was shooting a wedding. He was a photographer for many years, even before that. So he said he saw that I started doing videos, and he's like, "Hey, why don't you come with me? Bring your camera and just start recording. And if anyone asks you, just say you're my assistant." Like, because I had at the time a camera that looked like a photo camera, so they didn't know what I was doing. I was recording. They thought I was taking pictures. And he said,
Mm,
"Look, at the end of the night, you're gonna run home. You're gonna edit this video really quick, and then you're gonna come back here and you're gonna present it to them and see what they say and see if they want to buy it off you." And that's what I did. That was my first wedding. It was just like that. I ran home. It was about 8 o'clock, and they finished doing all the major things of the wedding. I ran home. I put the wedding video together. I brought it back. I knocked on their door, and I'm like, "Hey, remember me? Yeah, I was with Jufi all day. Yeah, can you put this DVD in here? I just want to show you what I did." And they loved it. And I was honestly willing to give it to them for free, just for the experience, but they paid me. They gave me money. They gave me like $200, and that was kind of the start of everything. And I was just like, "Whoa, okay, weddings." So that's when I started getting really into weddings and studying wedding videos. And I would look up the best wedding videographers, and I would try to imitate their moves and their shots. And little by little, I started getting better. And like I said, I started getting really known in the Lawrence kind of Christian, circle of people. Like I started, my name started getting spread, and I did a ton of weddings in a span of a few years. And eventually we shifted our focus into more business things. But yeah.
so do you think were you successful because of your hard work, or is there more to it? And the reason that I asked that, I specifically can think of a photographer friend of mine. He did the photographer thing on the side, and he quit the job at the time. And I think a year or two later, he kind of couldn't sustain himself and his wife with that. So then he went back, and he's working back at that company. I'm no longer in that company, but he went back and he's working there now. So
Yeah.
how what makes you different? Like what made you be able to succeed? Because most small businesses, they fail.
Yeah.
They don't succeed. So I'm trying to
Okay. So here's
get
one.
some of
Right,
those nuggets from you.
right off the top, we were living really like we were frugal, right? Our rent, we were blessed, man. We had a 3 bedroom. We stayed there for 8 years before buying a house. We had a 3 bedroom. Rent never went up. 850.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. Those are like 2006 numbers, and we had that all throughout. Growing our I don't know, 8 years. We were there for 8 years, and so we already, we had low rent. I think we had paid off our car already, so we didn't have that many expenses, right? So that's important. You can't be trying to ball out and have the latest stuff, and you know, um, something I hate about our community. I feel like Latino, Lawrence, Dominicans, we're very like, I don't know what the word is, but we like to,
Flashy.
huh?
Flashy?
Yeah, we're very flashy, man. We be having some. Man, I knew people growing up had like BMWs still living with their mom, not even helping pay the rent. Like, you know what I'm saying? That kind of flashy, right? The latest Jordans, but you can't even, pay the credit card back. And just that mentality, like I didn't have it, right? By then I had given my life to Christ, and he kind of washed any potential, I might have, at a certain time I was that a little bit, but he took that away. So at the time I was just all about my wife, my children, and just getting better in life, right? So we were living very frugally. Frugally, is that even a word? I don't even know.
You
But
lived a frugal lifestyle.
there you go. Yeah, frugally. um, and so that helped, right? That's number one. But that's not everything. Second thing is something that I teach everyone. Anyone who wants to know about business and how to be successful and how to make it somewhere, with your own business. I always tell someone, The reason most people are not successful after a few years with their business is because they didn't stick with it long enough. This is assuming they have a good idea, right? This is assuming that their business, they have a good idea, right? Because that could be the start of the everything, right? If your idea sucks, again, you're not gonna go anywhere. But if you have a good idea and you can stick with it through the good and the bad times, mostly bad for the first few years, eventually it's gonna come back around. Like, you're gonna meet so many people if you're doing the right thing, right? You're going out there, getting your face out there. You're doing good work. When you do get work, you're doing a good job. It's gonna come back around. It's like every year you meet a certain amount of people. Eventually, after 2, 3, 4 years, those people are gonna remember your name, right? And they're gonna come back to you, or they're gonna send someone your way. But that can only happen if you don't give up. You have to go through those rough years. You have to, man. You have to sacrifice. And thank God, my wife, again, she was still working. That year turned into more than a year. She held on the house for longer than a year before I started making real money. The reason after the year she didn't make me quit and go back to school and work was because I was starting to show, like, okay, there's some potential here, right? So she let it go on longer. And man, I remember when we got our first $1,000 job, my wife was shocked. Like, she could not believe we just made $1,000 off a video. Like, and that was a turning point for her. That's when I got her really on board, like, with me, like, okay, I'm going to help you. Like, let's do this, like, together. Right. So you asked me, right. So about how
did you succeed, man?
How did I succeed? Right. So not giving up. That was huge, right? Not giving up, being persistent. And I think you gotta love what you do. I know there's so many people who open businesses and they don't necessarily love it and they're successful because they're just really smart. I'm smart, but I'm not that smart where I can do something I don't enjoy doing and make a good living. Like, no, the reason I'm where I am now is because I enjoy what I do for work. It doesn't feel like work. So that's huge. That's something else that I preach all the time. Like, if you can, like, if you're not happy at work, if you don't enjoy, if work feels like work, consider making a career change. Even if you're in your 30s like me, like 30s, 40s, 50s, I don't care how old you are. If you're not happy doing what you do, I don't think it's worth it, man. Like, just working all the way till we're what, 65, life expectancy is what, 75. You got 10 years to enjoy it. Like, no, you need to enjoy what you do so it doesn't feel like work, So that's something else. I guess that's the third nugget that I have.
Well, I think that I think you hit on some great points. And first, I don't want to dismiss what you said about your wife because dude, that's super key. Like, you can't be going one direction and your partner going on a different direction. It's never gonna work. So that's like foundational on all levels. Absolutely. So I think that, like, that's super important.
It would have never worked without her. Think about it. This never would have happened if she would have said, no, I need you to work. And she would have been in all her right mind to tell me, man, we got kids, man. Go back to work.
And the persistence part, I think it's so important to emphasize that, especially today, man, because, I mean, we both go to church, I don't know if you lead any youth classes, but, I do. And I meet so many young kids, man, that just want things to happen like yesterday. And, like, that's not how the world works, man. I mean, there's some people, man, that they strike gold, but more often than not, you're going to have to grind for a bit before you see some real results.
Build up. What you're doing is building the foundation, like, when you're grinding, because, like, most things that come easy, they leave easy. And I've learned that so much through many times in my life. Like, if it came fast, man, that thing can leave fast. Like, you got no roots. You got no roots to it, man. You didn't learn what you were supposed to learn during those hard times, right? That's why people who win the lottery, most of them go broke within like a year, 2 years. They're bankrupt, like, because they don't know how to manage money. They didn't work hard for that, right? So I don't know.
Well, you're building character too.
Right.
Like those years are building that character
Yeah.
that's gonna help you. Like with more success, right, comes greater problems. But if you didn't go through that process, right, to get to where you are, then those big problems they're gonna tear you down. So you're
Absolutely.
building that foundation, and I think that's so important.